Have you ever actually tried to read your local council's annual report? You know the one. It's usually glossy, full of smiling photos, and talks a big game about progress. But is that the full picture? Today, we're going to tear one of these documents apart using the Shoalhaven Council's report as our case study to show you how to read between the lines and find out what's really going on.
Okay, so right off the bat, you get this big rosy message from the top brass. The CEO calls it a year of significant progress and strategic achievement. It all sounds fantastic, right? Polished, confident. This is the official story, the one they want you to hear. But, and this is a big but, this is exactly where we need to put on our detective hats. A statement like that isn't just a summary of facts, it's a framing device. It's designed to set a positive tone. And sometimes, well, it's used to paper over some not-so-great truths hidden away in the data. And to really get why this all matters, we have to understand the rules of the game here. Because, and this is crucial, a council's annual report is not just some glossy marketing piece. Not at all. It has to follow some very strict rules.
Yeah, you see, legally speaking, this thing is a statutory disclosure. Now, that's a fancy term, but what it really means is that the council is required by law to report on how they actually performed. And that means everything, not just the highlights. It means the good, the bad, and yeah, even the really uncomfortable stuff they'd probably prefer we didn't see.
So let's be super clear. This isn't a newsletter. It's not a political ad. Those opening messages from the mayor or the CEO, they aren't just feel-good PR moments. They're supposed to be about accountability.
Okay, so now that we know the rules, let's do this. Let's start digging. It's time to look past those shiny opening pages and get into the real meat of it, the actual numbers.
And boom, right away you can see the conflict. The headline is all sunshine and rainbows, strong foundations, financial progress, but then you look at the data and it's telling a completely different story. A story about crumbling roads and slashed maintenance budgets.
All right, let's start with something pretty much everyone can relate to, roads. I mean, we all drive on them, right? So the report will of course highlight all the shiny new projects and upgrades, but what are people actually saying? What does the community satisfaction data tell us?
Well, here it is, 2.6 out of 5. Ouch. That is not good. It's way below what you'd consider acceptable, and it basically confirms what people are feeling every single day they get in their cars. The roads are a huge source of frustration, no matter what the glossy intro says.
And it's not just the roads either. Let's pivot to something else that's super important for a growing community, development. Getting new homes and businesses approved. For that to happen, the council has to be on the ball. They have to be efficient. So how are they doing? Well, the numbers speak for themselves. It's a massive bottleneck. More than half, 56% of all development applications were delayed. Just think about what that means. That's stalled housing projects, that's lost investment, that's frustrated entrepreneurs all over the region.
Okay, now for the big one. This is the number that really made me do a double take. Councils just love to talk about how much they support the community, right? And the headline numbers they throw around are usually pretty eye-popping. And here you have it. This council's report boasts over $8 million in support for the community. I mean, wow, that is a massive number. It looks amazing on paper, but what does the word support actually really mean in this context? Well, once you start digging into the fine print, you find the actual cash that went to community groups was just over $176,000. Wait, what? That is a tiny, tiny fraction of that $8 million headline. So you have to ask, where on earth did the other 98% go? And here's the breakdown. That huge $8 million number, the vast majority of it wasn't cash in the hands of, say, the local soccer club or the community arts center. Nope. It was things like fee waivers, rent discounts, and, get this, the biggest chunk was major financial breaks given to property developers. So when you start connecting the dots, the bad roads, the delayed development, these kind of misleading support numbers, a much clearer and honestly a much more worrying picture starts to come into focus.
The analysis we're drawing from uses this really great analogy. It compares the council to a homeowner who's struggling with money. You know the type. The front lawn looks perfectly manicured, but behind the scenes, they're cutting every corner they can just to keep their head above water.
And that's pretty much exactly what the data is telling us here. The council is putting off essential maintenance, cutting back on services, letting important assets like roads just fall apart. These are all short-term fixes that are just going to create massive, way more expensive problems later on. And all the while, they're standing on the front porch telling everyone, everything's great.
Look, the conclusion here is pretty blunt. This isn't a picture of strong foundations. Not at all. What the data really shows is an organization that's under an incredible amount of stress. It's stretched, maybe even past its breaking point, and it's really struggling to do the basic things it's supposed to do.
So, after all that, what's the point? Well, this isn't about just pointing fingers at one council. The real goal here is to give you a kind of toolkit so you can look at your own council's report and hold them accountable.
So the next time that glossy report shows up, you'll know exactly what to do. Flip right past the happy introductions. Compare their big, positive words with the cold, hard numbers. When you see a claim about millions in support, you'll know to ask, okay, but who's really getting that money? And maybe the most important thing of all, think about what they're not saying. Always remember, that report isn't a PR piece for them. It's a legal document for you. It's your tool for accountability.
At the end of the day, these reports are one of the best tools we have to see what's actually going on with our local governments. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What is your council's annual report really trying to tell you?